Star Trek tells stories of bold explorers voyaging aboard mighty starships as they journey into the unknown of deep space. Their adventures reflect Gene Roddenberry's hope for humanity's future. Aboard these ships, the bridge is the command center from which the captain and crew set their course and control their destiny. The very first concept of the Enterprise bridge was a 1964 sketch by production designer Pato Guzman. It's surprising how much of Guzman's concept made it to the final design and has remained part of Star Trek ever since. Art director Matt Jeffries was principal designer of the original Enterprise and its bridge, first seen in the pilot episode, The Cage. His design was innovative and futuristic, but more importantly, it could be built on a tight television budget. Jeffries' bridge made such an impression that engineers from NASA, the U.S. Navy, and private industry have studied it as a model for an advanced, efficient control room. The Enterprise bridge underwent minor changes over the course of Star Trek's original 3 seasons from 1966 to 1969. Afterwards, Star Trek grew in popularity in syndicated reruns as we continued to voyage vicariously with Captain Kirk and his crew. After Star Trek's original network run, Filmation Associates made an animated version of the show in 1973, but they tweaked the bridge slightly, adding a second door and a bridge defense system. Here's what we think it might have looked like as a real set. In 1976, a far more radical redesign of the ship was devised for a proposed movie that would have been called Planet of the Titans. Here's what production designer Ken Adam and illustrator Ralph McQuarrie planned for a refit Enterprise. Their concept later helped to inspire the Starship Discovery. Their idea for the ship's bridge was equally dramatic. Although this film was never produced, we think of this design as one of the many alternative timelines in the Star Trek multiverse. Some of those timelines have been depicted in novels and comics, and some have even featured a mischief maker named Q. But I wouldn't know anything about that. Another radical departure was this ring ship, conceived by Jeffries during the development of the original Enterprise back in 1964. This design resurfaced in the mid-70s for another proposed Roddenberry series. The ring ship also made cameos in the form of artwork used as set dressing in a couple of episodes and movies. Still another more restrained redesign of the Enterprise was conceived by Joe Jennings and Matt Jeffries for the planned Star Trek Phase 2 television series in the late 1970s. This would have been the second 5-year mission of the good ship Enterprise. This new bridge was actually built. The series was canceled just 2 weeks before filming. However, there was a silver lining to the series cancellation. The planned first episode was expanded to become Star Trek: The Motion Picture, directed by the legendary Robert Wise. Harold Michelson was tasked with upgrading the Phase 2 sets. He took advantage of the feature film budget to make the refit Enterprise more detailed and more believable than ever. Although the original Enterprise was destroyed in Star Trek III, a new ship was introduced at the end of Star Trek IV. The Enterprise A featured all new bridge control panels designed by graphic artist Mike Okuda. The new Enterprise returned to Star Trek V and VI under the supervision of Herman Zimmerman. In Star Trek VI, he brought a grittier, more grounded look to the ship for the last film featuring the original series cast. Zimmerman also supervised the ship in Star Trek: The Next Generation. This bold new concept, featuring beautiful organic curves, was conceived by illustrator Andrew Probert, reflecting Roddenberry's vision of a future in which technology serves humanity. We got a brief glimpse of the Excelsior class Enterprise B, in the opening scenes of Star Trek Generations, the film that featured the apparent death of Admiral James Kirk. The Enterprise C was featured in fan-favorite Next Generation episode Yesterday's Enterprise. The two ships were designed by John Eaves and Rick Sternbach. The Enterprise E, also designed by Eaves, continued the evolution of the Federation flagship in 3 feature films. Star Trek Enterprise was set a century before the time of James Kirk. For this prequel, Zimmerman and Doug Drexler were tasked to create a ship with technology more advanced than the real-life space shuttle, but less sophisticated than Kirk's Enterprise. One episode of that series provided a tantalizing glimpse of a fantastical starship from the far future, the 26th century Enterprise J, also designed by Drexler. Another prequel followed in 2009. This elegant ship was designed by Scott Chambliss and set in an alternate reality called the Kelvin timeline. Yet another version of the ship, under the art direction of Jonathan Lee, was first seen in Star Trek Discovery, and then again in Strange New Worlds. The evolution of the Starship Enterprise also includes numerous variations created for advertising and merchandise, plus proposals that never made it to the screen. The Roddenberry Archive has visualized a number of these designs as part of our effort to document the work of Star Trek's creator, Gene Roddenberry. The 3rd season of Star Trek Picard offered brief glimpses of 2 new enterprises, the F and the G. Their bridges were designed by Dave Blass, based on his elegant work for the Stargazer and the Titan. Blass also recreated the bridge of the Enterprise D for the series finale. Picard's triumphant return to his beloved ship brought nostalgic tears to the eyes of more than a few fans. For over 5 decades, through hundreds of hours of Star Trek television and films, we've called these ships home. Their crews have become our friends. With them, we have shared adventure, high drama, and the joy of discovery that only Star Trek can provide. Aboard these magnificent ships, both filmmakers and fans have journeyed to the final frontier, sharing Gene Roddenberry's vision of a better future and going boldly where none have gone before.